Well, hello, boys and girls. I'm so happy to see you guys today joining me for Stories with Miss Debbie. Today, we're going to start Ali Baba. This is going to take us probably 3 or 4 days to do. It's not going to be as long as the last chapter book we read. It's not actually a chapter book, but it's going to take us a while. So, let's get started on Ali Baba. I hope you guys enjoy it. Ali Baba. Long ago in Persia, there were two brothers, Qasim and Ali Baba. When their father died, people came from near and far. He was a good man, they said. He helped the poor. Ali smiled and Qasim frowned. After the funeral, Qasim went to their father's money chest. I'm the elder, he said. I deserve most of it. He opened the chest and found only a handful of coins. That waster, throwing away his money on the poor. He was a good man, Ali said. I hope someday people will say I am like my father. Qasim said, Bah! He married a rich woman who had a big house and a shop. All he had to do was sit in the shop and watch the clerks take in money. Ali Baba married a poor girl. Year after year, he worked as a woodcutter, saving every penny he could for their son, Abdullah. When Abdullah was a young man, Ali sent him away to school. Now he must work harder than ever to take care of his son. Every day at dawn, Ali went to the forest with his 3 donkeys. He cut all the wood the little animals could carry, then plodded back to the city to sell it. Sometimes he passed the fine shop of Qasim's wife and saw his brother sitting in the doorway. When Qasim saw Ali coming, he turned his head. Poor Qasim, Ali would say, he feels sorry for me. If he would help if he could. But of course the money is not his. It belongs to his wife. One day, just as Ali was leaving the forest, he saw a great cloud of dust on the road and heard the thunder of hoofbeats. Who would be riding so fast? Not merchants. Could the horsemen be robbers? Ali looked at his donkeys. If I lost you, I would be ruined, he said. He led them back into the forest and hid them. Then he started toward the road to watch the horsemen pass. But they did not ride by. They were coming into the forest. Trembling, Ali climbed a tree. He was shaking so hard that he almost fell. Clutching a limb, he looked down. The horsemen were coming toward the tree. 40 men, armed with swords and daggers. There was no doubt about it. They were robbers. They rode straight up to the tree and stopped. They got off their horses and lifted their saddlebags to their shoulders. Even though they were all great, strong fellows, every man went, ugh, when he lifted his saddlebag. What could be in the bags to make them so heavy? The tallest robber with the biggest sword marched up to a huge rock. Open sesame. The rock was as big as Ali's house, but when the robber spoke, the rock moved. It opened like a door. The 40 robbers marched into the hill, and slowly the rock closed. Ali started to climb down from the tree, then he stopped. What if he did not have time to get away? What if the robbers came out and caught him? I'd better stay here, Ali said. In a few moments, he was glad he had waited, for the rock opened once more. The robbers marched out with their empty saddlebags. They tossed them on the horses. The captain said, Shut sesame. The rock closed. The 40 robbers rode away. Ali waited until the thunder of hoofbeats faded. He climbed down from the tree and looked toward the rock. I wonder what would happen, he whispered, if I said open sesame to the rock. The rock moved. Slowly, Ali went into the cave. What a surprise! It was not a dark little hole, but a huge room 10 times as big as his house, bigger even than Qasim's house. From somewhere above, light and air came through the slits in the rock. Ali could see everything. He stared around him, hundreds of beautiful rugs, thousands of bales of silk, and money. There was mountains of gold dinars piled higher than his head. How long had this cave been used by robbers? 40 men in a lifetime could not have brought this treasure here. It must have been a treasure house of robbers when my great-great-grandfather was living, Ollie said. Perhaps when my great-great-great-grandfather was a boy. He saw some sacks on the floor. Ollie, he asked himself, do you think it's bad to rob a robber? No, Ollie, he answered himself. I don't think it's bad to rob a robber. He filled 3 sacks with gold and dragged them out of the cave. Shut. He stopped to think. What was that word? Some kind of grain. Wheat? Barley? Rye? Then he remembered. Shut sesame. The rock closed. Ollie found his donkey and took the wood off their backs. He loaded them with the sacks of gold and covered the sacks with dry branches. And now to get home safely. If only he could wait until dark. But what if the robbers came back? He didn't dare wait. He hurried home as fast as he could drive his donkeys. He led them right to his door. He dragged the sacks of gold inside his little house. He shut and barred the door. He shut and barred all the windows. Safe at last. He sat down and he shook all over. His wife said, Ollie, dear, what's wrong? Instead of answering, Ollie opened a sack and dumped the shining gold onto the hard-packed dirt floor. There! He waited for her to smile, but she began to cry. Oh, my dear Ollie, have you turned into a robber? Never! Then where did you get the gold? Can you keep a secret forever? He asked. She promised. He told her about the robbers. Then he took a pick and began to dig a hole. Dear Ollie, she said, I'm so happy. Now you won't have to work so hard. We can give Abdullah a good start in life. How many dinars are there? I have no idea, Ollie said, and we don't have time to count them. We must get them out of sight. What if a neighbor came and saw them? By morning, the whole city would know. By tomorrow night, the whole country. The robbers would hear about it. Then what do you think would happen to me? She sighed. You're right. If only we had a measure, perhaps an omer, we could measure it. We would know how many omers of gold we have. An omer holds about 10 cups. Then we would know how many cups of gold we have. I'm sure I could borrow an omer at your brother's house. You couldn't go there, Ollie said. Kasim's wife has never invited us to come there. The slave girl, Morgiana, would lend me a measure. She's very kind. Once when you were sick, she fed us for many days. Go along if you must, Ollie said, but remember, tell no one about the gold. She promised. She ran to the street where Kasim lived and into the courtyard and up into the kitchen door. Unluckily, Kasim's wife was there. So you want to borrow an omer? I didn't know you ever had enough grain to fill an omer. What kind is it? She saw how Ollie's wife blushed and stammered. Aha, she thought. And there's something queer about this. She got the omer herself and rubbed the bottom with grease. She would find out what Ollie had to measure. She waited in the courtyard until Ollie's wife brought back the omer. As soon as she was alone, she looked in the bottom, not barley or rye, but a golden dinar. Okay, that's all we're going to read for today. So I think she knows what's going on, or at least she knows something's going on. So come back tomorrow and join me for the rest of the story, or some more of the story.